My phone buzzed as I sat in the car and I glanced down to see a name I had not expected to see again. Amanda, my ex-wife. The message read, "We need to talk. It is urgent." 6 months ago, those words would have torn me apart. 6 months ago, I would have dropped everything to answer her call. But today, sitting here with the woman beside me laughing at something on the radio, her hair catching the evening light, I felt nothing but a strange sense of distance. Rachel, Amanda's younger sister. I looked at her, then back at the text, feeling the irony of the moment settle over me like a familiar coat. I typed out a response knowing exactly what kind of earthquake it would trigger. Before I tell you what happened next, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments. And if you have ever had an ex try to come back into your life after they left you broken, hit that like button. You know exactly how this feels. Subscribe if you want to see how this whole thing played out, because trust me, what happened the next morning was something I never saw coming. Let me take you back to where it all started. I met Amanda when I was 24 at a small coffee shop in Denver. She walked in wearing a navy blazer and carrying herself with the kind of confidence that made everyone turn and look. She was a marketing executive, sharp and ambitious, with dark hair that fell past her shoulders and eyes that seemed to calculate everything in an instant. We dated for 2 years before I proposed, and she said yes without hesitation. The wedding was perfect. Our first year of marriage felt like a dream I was afraid to wake up from. I was working as an architect and my career was starting to gain momentum. Amanda was climbing the corporate ladder faster than anyone I knew. We bought a small house in the suburbs with a backyard big enough for Max, our golden retriever. On weekends, we would cook together, trying new recipes and laughing when they turned out terrible. We traveled twice a year exploring cities we had only read about. Every morning I woke up next to her and felt like the luckiest man alive. I believed we were building something that would last forever. Around the 18th month of our marriage, I started noticing small changes. Amanda came home later than usual, always with the same explanation. "Big project at work," she would say, her eyes fixed on her phone screen. She stopped asking about my day. She stopped sharing details about hers. Our conversations became shorter, filled with practical logistics instead of the easy banter we used to have. She scrolled through her phone during dinner, her fingers moving quickly across the screen, her attention somewhere else entirely. I told myself she was stressed. Work pressure could do that to anyone. So I tried to support her the only way I knew how. I cooked dinner every night, even when I came home exhausted from job sites. I cleaned the house, walked Max, paid the bills without asking her to contribute beyond her share. When she came home at 10 or 11 at night, I would have a plate warming in the oven. I never complained. I thought I was being a good husband. Rachel used to visit us back then. She was 25 in her final year of medical school, with a warm smile and an easygoing nature that contrasted sharply with her older sister's intensity. She would bring coffee and pastries on Sunday mornings, sitting at our kitchen table and talking about her rotations at the hospital. She noticed things I tried to hide. "Are you okay?" she would ask, her eyes searching my face. "You look tired." I would brush it off, telling her everything was fine, just work stress for both Amanda and me. Rachel would nod, but I could see the concern lingering in her expression. One night in March, I finished a project ahead of schedule and came home early, around 8 in the evening. The house was dark. Amanda was not home. I called her phone twice, but it went straight to voicemail. I sat on the couch with Max curled up beside me, trying to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. At 11 o'clock, I heard her car pull into the driveway. She walked in, and I noticed immediately that something was off. Her makeup was smudged at the corners, and there was a faint scent of cologne that was not mine. "Where were you?" I asked, standing up. I was worried. She looked at me with an expression I had never seen before, something between guilt and defiance. "I told you, team dinner. Why are you interrogating me?" The next week, Amanda left her laptop open on the kitchen table while she took a shower. I was not the kind of person who went through someone's private messages. I trusted her, but the screen was right there and a notification popped up. A message from someone named Kyle, a coworker she had mentioned once or twice. I should have closed the laptop. I should have walked away. But I clicked on the message thread instead, and my hands started shaking as I read. The messages were not professional. They were intimate, flirty, filled with inside jokes and references to nights spent together. One message stood out, burning itself into my memory. "Last night was amazing. I cannot stop thinking about you." I read it 3 times, hoping I had misunderstood, hoping there was some innocent explanation I was missing. I sat there in the dark kitchen, the light from the laptop screen casting shadows across my face. My chest felt hollow, like someone had reached inside and removed something essential. That night, I lay in bed next to Amanda, listening to her breathe, feeling like I was sleeping beside a stranger. I did not sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the past few months, seeing all the signs I had ignored because I wanted so desperately to believe everything was fine. The next morning, I confronted her. My voice shook as I asked, "Who is Kyle?" Her face went pale, then flushed red with anger. "You went through my messages. How dare you invade my privacy?" She turned it around on me, accusing me of being paranoid and controlling. She said Kyle was just a colleague, that the message about last night referred to a successful presentation they had delivered together. She cried, saying I did not trust her, that I was destroying our marriage with my insecurity. I wanted to believe her. I loved her. I wanted our marriage to work. So I apologized for going through her messages. She promised to keep things more professional with Kyle. I held her that night, trying to convince myself that everything would be okay. But deep down, in a place I did not want to acknowledge, I knew this was just the beginning of the end. The next 3 months were the hardest of my life. Amanda stopped pretending. She came home at 10 or 11 every night, sometimes even later. She spent entire weekends at the office or so, she said. We stopped having any physical intimacy. She would climb into bed and turn her back to me, creating an invisible wall between us that grew thicker every day. I felt like I was living with a ghost, someone who looked like my wife but was not really there anymore. I tried everything to save our marriage. I suggested couples therapy, and she refused, saying we did not need it, that I was overreacting. I planned date nights, making reservations at restaurants she used to love. She would cancel at the last minute, claiming an emergency at work. I cooked her favorite meals, and she would eat quickly before retreating to the bedroom with her laptop. Every gesture I made was met with indifference or irritation. The loneliness was suffocating. I would sit at the dinner table with 2 plates of food, eating alone while listening for the sound of her car in the driveway. I looked at our wedding photos on the wall and wondered where that smiling woman had gone. I could not focus at work. My boss noticed, asking if everything was all right at home. I lied, saying everything was fine. I stopped sleeping properly, lying awake until I heard her come home, then pretending to be asleep when she walked into the bedroom. Rachel came by occasionally during those months. One Saturday afternoon, when Amanda was supposedly at the office, Rachel showed up with coffee and cupcakes. "I thought you might need some company," she said, her smile gentle and concerned. We sat in the living room, and for the first time in months, I did not feel completely alone. "Dominic, are you really okay?" she asked, studying my face. "You have lost weight." I tried to keep my voice steady. "Just busy with work." "I know my sister," Rachel said quietly. "She has been different lately. Cold." I was surprised. "You noticed?" "I have tried talking to her, but she shuts me out too." Rachel looked down at her coffee cup. "I am worried about both of you." There was nothing romantic between us then. Rachel was simply a kind person who saw that I was struggling. But those visits became the only moments when I felt like someone actually saw me, like I was not invisible in my own home. I was grateful for her presence, even as the pain of what was happening with Amanda continued to grow. In June, I went on a work trip to Boulder for 3 days. I came back a day early because we finished ahead of schedule. It was 3 in the afternoon when I pulled into our driveway. Amanda's car was there, which surprised me since she had texted that morning, saying she had meetings all day. I unlocked the front door and heard voices upstairs, laughter. A man's voice I did not recognize. I walked up the stairs slowly, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The bedroom door was slightly open. I should have turned around. I should have walked away. But I looked inside and the image I saw would be seared into my memory forever. Amanda and a man I assumed was Kyle in our bedroom in our bed, completely unaware I was standing there. Time stopped. I could not breathe. I could not move. My legs felt like they might give out beneath me. My brain could not process what I was seeing, like it was rejecting the information as impossible. This was not real. This could not be happening, but it was. I stood there for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds, watching my marriage die in real time. I did not make a sound. I turned around and walked back down the stairs, moving on autopilot. I got in my car and drove. I did not know where I was going. I ended up in an empty parking lot near a park we used to visit with Max. I sat there with my hands gripping the steering wheel, staring straight ahead. I felt nothing. Complete numbness. My mind was blank, unable to form coherent thoughts. I sat in that parking lot until it got dark. When I finally drove home around 9 at night, Amanda was sitting on the couch watching television like it was a normal evening. The sight of her acting so casual made something inside me snap into sharp clarity. I came home at 3 this afternoon. I said, my voice eerily calm. Her face went white. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. There were no more lies she could tell. No more excuses that would work. Dominic, I can explain, she started, but her voice cracked. Explain what? I cut her off. That you have been sleeping with him in our bed, in our home. She started crying. I did not mean for this to happen. I love you, but what? But you love him too. But you are confused. I do not know what I want anymore, she whispered. A strange calm washed over me. Everything became crystal clear. I know what I want. I want a divorce. She looked shocked, like she had never considered I might leave her. Do not say that. We can work through this. You destroyed us. I said each word deliberate and final. There is nothing left to work through. I packed a bag that night and left. I could not spend another minute in that house, sleeping in that bed, breathing the same air as her. I checked into a cheap hotel, and the next morning I contacted a divorce attorney. I slept on a hard hotel mattress that night, surrounded by all my belongings stuffed into 2 suitcases, and I felt more at peace than I had in months. The pain was there, sharp and overwhelming, but at least it was honest pain. No more lies, no more false hope. The divorce took 5 months to finalize. It was relatively clean since we had signed a prenuptial agreement. I rented a small apartment on the other side of town and threw myself into rebuilding my life. Every morning I woke up at 5:30 and went to the gym. I lifted weights, ran on the treadmill, channeling all my anger and pain into physical strength. I worked longer hours, taking on more projects than I probably should have, but the distraction helped. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my marriage. We went to baseball games, had barbecues, played poker on Friday nights. I started going to therapy, learning how to process what had happened, how to rebuild my sense of self-worth. The therapist taught me that Amanda's choices were about her, not about me. That I had not failed. That sometimes people destroy good things for reasons that have nothing to do with the person they hurt. The first month I lost 15 pounds from stress and lack of appetite. But then I started gaining it back as muscle. I felt stronger than I had in years, not just physically, but mentally. I slept better, no longer lying awake worrying about where Amanda was or what she was doing. I laughed more with my friends. I started hiking again, something I used to love before I got married. I bought a new camera and spent weekends photographing landscapes in the mountains outside Denver. I did not ask about Amanda. I did not check her social media. I blocked her number except for communication through our lawyers. I was not interested in her life anymore. The woman I had loved was gone if she had ever really existed at all. I learned that I did not need her to feel complete. I had built my entire identity around being a husband, around making her happy, and now I was discovering who I was on my own. 5 months after I moved out, Rachel texted me. Hey, I know it has been a while. Can we grab coffee? I hesitated, my finger hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to cut all ties to anything connected to Amanda. But Rachel had been kind to me. She had seen my pain and offered friendship when I needed it most. I agreed to meet her. We met at a downtown coffee shop on a Tuesday afternoon. She looked the same but different somehow, more confident maybe, or just more tired. Residency was clearly taking its toll. She smiled when she saw me, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. I wanted to apologize, she said after we sat down with our drinks. For my sister, for everything. You do not need to apologize for her choices, I replied. I know, but you were family to me too. I lost you in the divorce, and that was not fair. We talked for 2 hours. She told me about her residency, the long shifts, the difficult cases, the small victories that made it all worthwhile. I told her about my life, about the therapy, the gym, the hiking trips, the slow process of becoming myself again. She said she had not talked much to Amanda since the divorce, that she was disappointed in her sister's actions. There was no judgment in her voice, just sadness. The conversation felt easy, natural. There was no tension, no awkwardness. We were just two people who had known each other for years reconnecting. Before we left, we exchanged numbers and agreed to meet again. Over the next 2 months, we started spending more time together. Coffee dates turned into hiking trips. We discovered we both loved the outdoors, both preferred action movies to romantic comedies, both thought pineapple on pizza was an abomination. It was not romantic at first, we were just friends. But gradually, I started noticing things. The way she laughed at my terrible jokes, how she remembered small details I mentioned in passing. The way she looked at sunset during our hikes, her face peaceful and content. I found myself looking forward to our time together, checking my phone to see if she had texted, smiling when I saw her name pop up on my screen. 2 months after we reconnected, we were sitting on a boulder after a long hike, watching the sun dip below the mountains. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the air was cooling down. Rachel turned to me, her expression serious. I need to tell you something, she said. I have developed feelings for you. I was surprised, even though part of me had suspected. Rachel, I feel the same way, but this is complicated. I know, she said quickly, but I have felt this way for a long time, even before everything fell apart with you and Amanda. We talked about our concerns. What would Amanda think? What would her parents say? How would people judge us? But we were adults. We deserved to be happy. We decided to take things slow to see where this connection might lead. 3 weeks later, we were officially together. It felt different from what I had with Amanda. There were no games, no manipulation, no walking on eggshells. Rachel was genuine and straightforward. When she said she would call, she called. When she made plans, she kept them. She asked about my day and actually listened to the answer. We laughed together, cooked together, sat in comfortable silence together. With Amanda, I had always felt like I was performing, trying to be good enough. With Rachel, I could just be myself. One Friday evening, we went to dinner at an Italian restaurant downtown. We had been dating for 3 weeks, and everything felt right in a way I had never experienced before. We were driving back to her apartment, both of us laughing about something the waiter had said, when my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Amanda. We need to talk. It is urgent. I felt a flicker of annoyance, nothing more. No pain, no longing, no curiosity. Just mild irritation that she was trying to intrude on my evening. Rachel noticed my expression change. Who is it? Amanda, I said. Oh. Her voice was careful. What does she want? Says she needs to talk. It is urgent. Are you going to reply? I looked at Rachel. Really looked at her. She was beautiful in the dashboard lights, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, her eyes watching me with concern, but no jealousy. Then I looked back at my phone, at the message from a woman who belonged to my past. I smiled and typed out a response. Not now. I am out with your sister. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. Rachel's eyes went wide. Dominic, You just... She does not get to interrupt my life anymore, I said firmly. You are what matters now. Rachel's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. That was... wow. My phone started buzzing immediately. Amanda was calling. Then more texts started flooding in. I put the phone on silent and slipped it into my pocket. We drove to Rachel's apartment, and neither of us mentioned Amanda again that night. We cooked pasta together, drank wine, watched a movie, and fell asleep on her couch. For the first time in over a year, I went to bed that night feeling completely at peace. I was not running from my past anymore. I had genuinely moved on. Whatever Amanda wanted to say could wait. Forever, if necessary. Saturday morning, I was making breakfast in my apartment when the doorbell rang at 8 o'clock. I was not expecting anyone. I opened the door and found Amanda standing there. She looked terrible. Her eyes were red and puffy, her hair unbrushed, her makeup from the night before smeared across her face. It was clear she had been crying for hours. "We need to talk. Now," she demanded, her voice hoarse. I stayed calm, leaning against the doorframe. "I thought I made it clear last night. You are dating my sister." Her voice rose shrill and accusing. "My little sister? How could you? How could I?" I raised an eyebrow. "That is rich coming from you." "I made a mistake," she said, her voice breaking. "Kyle left me. I want us to try again." I waited for the rush of satisfaction, the vindictive pleasure of seeing her hurting the way she had hurt me. But it never came. I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, no triumph. Just a calm, settled sense of finality. "Amanda, I do not hate you," I said honestly, "but I do not love you anymore either." But we were married. We had history. We do have history. I agreed. And that is exactly what it is. History. I have moved on. "With my sister," she shouted. "You are doing this to hurt me." "No," I said firmly. "I am doing this because Rachel is an amazing woman who makes me happy. This has nothing to do with you." She broke down completely, sliding down to sit on the floor of my hallway. I ruined everything, did not I? I felt a twinge of pity, but nothing more. "Yes, you did. But I am grateful now. You set me free to find real happiness." She looked up at me, mascara running down her cheeks. I was scared. Scared of how serious we were getting, scared of commitment, scared of becoming boring. Kyle made me feel exciting and young again. But it was not real. You were real. We were real. We were, I acknowledged. But you destroyed that. And honestly, Amanda, I think we would have been miserable eventually. You need something I cannot give you, and I deserve someone who chooses me every single day. She stood up slowly, wiping her face. You really love her, do not you, Rachel? I do. Does she make you happy? She does. Amanda nodded, defeated. Then I guess this is really goodbye. It is. I wish you well, Amanda. I really do. I hope you find what you are looking for. She walked away and I closed the door. I stood there for a moment, taking a deep breath, and realized I felt lighter than I had in years. That was closure. Real, honest closure. I called Rachel immediately. Hey, I heard Amanda showed up. Are you okay? She asked, concern clear in her voice. I am more than okay. I am free. She is my sister, Rachel said carefully. This is going to be complicated with family. I know. Are you sure you want this? With me. I have never been more sure of anything, but I need you to be sure too. Rachel, what I feel for you is not about revenge or rebound. You are the first person who has made me believe in love again. Real, honest, uncomplicated love. My parents might have issues with this. Then we will face them together. But I am not giving you up because your sister made bad choices. There was a pause, and then she said, Okay, then let us do this, for real. 6 months later, Rachel and I were still together stronger than ever. Her parents had been upset initially, but they eventually came around when they saw how happy we were together, when they saw that I treated their daughter with the respect and love she deserved. Amanda had moved to Seattle, taking a new job and starting fresh. I heard through mutual friends that she was in therapy working on herself. I hoped she found peace. I held no ill will toward her anymore. Rachel finished her residency and accepted a position at Denver General Hospital. I was promoted to senior architect at my firm. We moved in together into a new apartment with no ghosts from my past. Max came with me, and he loved Rachel just as much as I did. Our Sunday mornings were my favorite. We would make breakfast together, nothing fancy, just pancakes and coffee, and then we would take Max for a hike in the foothills. Simple, easy, uncomplicated happiness. Looking back, I realized the divorce had been the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to grow, to discover who I was outside of that toxic relationship, to learn what real love actually looked like. Betrayal does not define you. How you rise from it does. I could have let Amanda's cheating turn me bitter and cynical. Instead, I chose to heal, to open my heart again, to trust again. Real love does not require games or manipulation. It does not make you feel small or inadequate. It does not keep you up at night wondering if you are enough. Real love is coming home and feeling at peace. It is being able to be completely yourself without fear of judgment. It is someone showing up for you, not just when it is easy, but especially when it is hard. The best revenge is not revenge at all. It is living well. It is finding genuine happiness. I did not plan to date Rachel to get back at Amanda. It happened naturally, organically, because Rachel and I connected on a level I had never experienced before. That authenticity is what made it work, what made it real. Family is not always blood. Sometimes family is the person who shows up when you are broken, who sits with you in your pain, who believes in you when you cannot believe in yourself. Rachel became my family in the truest sense of the word, and her parents eventually became my family too when they saw that our relationship was built on honesty and mutual respect. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Amanda never cheated. Would I have stayed in that hollow marriage, forever too scared or too stubborn to admit it was not working? Would I have missed out on real love with Rachel? I will never know. But what I do know is, this rock bottom became the solid foundation I built my new life on. And that text message I sent that Friday night was not closure. It was a declaration. I no longer belong to my past. I belong to my future. And my future was sitting right next to me, holding my hand, believing in us. That was enough. That was everything. So let me ask you, have you ever had to choose between holding on to the past or embracing a future you never expected? Drop your answer in the comments below. I would love to hear your stories. And if this story resonated with you, if you have been through something similar, or if you know someone who needs to hear this message, please hit that like button and share this video with them. Subscribe to this channel if you want to hear more real stories about real people navigating the messy, complicated, beautiful chaos of life. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that endings can become beginnings, that broken hearts can heal, and that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads you exactly where you were meant to be all along. Take care of yourselves out there, and remember, you deserve someone who chooses you every single day.